bales at a time onto the floor, turn them up. You can see the pile of net wrap back there. The net wrap comes off of them. And the process we have designed isn't quite robust enough where it grinds the whole bale at once. So what we do is just take the loader and lift them up a little bit. And depending on the condition they were in when they were baled and what the bale's like, basically you can just break up the bale on the floor here. You end up with a pile of loose straw, and then it gets pushed into the pit back there with the yellow railings. That pit essentially is made to mimic a forage wagon. The bottom of it is a walking floor system which has 3 teams of aluminum slats that all go together in unison, come back in teams of 3. Very efficient way of handling the bulk material. And we can step up closer. The floor moves it towards the agitator. The agitator peels it up over and introduces it into the process. The bin over here is a fuel bin for our furnace. We have a 15 million BTU an hour advanced recycling biomass furnace. In theory, and from time to time we've thought this too, boy, you can take switchgrass, harvest it on a nice day, get it in at about 10% moisture. That's great if you're looking at an acre or maybe even 10 acres. To do it on hundreds and thousands of acres is very, very difficult. And if anybody's worked with densification, moisture can be your best friend or your worst nightmare. Basically what we're looking for is about 10 to 12% moisture content on the straw. And so when we were designing this, we just couldn't fathom making the investment in all the equipment for densification without having the ability to manipulate the moisture in the flow. So on that side has been for our biomass furnace. We can use wood chips for fuel. We can use right-of-way clearings. We can use sawdust. We can use cleanings from current seeds. The seed company produces about 700 million tons a year of cleanings, which could be a conveyor that brings the fiber to be densified into this side to be processed. It's dropped through one grinder, which we refer to as a green hammer mill, meaning the material hasn't been dried yet. Then it drops into a triple pass drum dryer. The drum dryer works just like your clothes dryer at home, rotates fairly slow, keeps dropping fiber through the hot air stream to remove moisture. After it exits the drum dryer, it goes up the piping into the cyclones. The cyclones separate the fiber out of the air. As we were developing this project, one of the stark contrasts that we saw between switchgrass fiber and wood fiber is that the bulk density in raw form is very different. We did some different commercial testing for Mandarin Sprouts lab mill with a 200 horsepower pellet mill to a commercial wood pellet producer with a bigger mill that actually was interested in the concept and partnered with us to try to produce switchgrass pellets. Anybody that's seen a ring die mill, and I know there's people in the room that have seen lots of them, the die is in a ring on its edge. To make a pellet, you have to introduce the material into the middle of that die and extrude it outwards. Works very well for wood, works outstanding for different feeds. Does not work so well for switchgrass. The low bulk density of ground switchgrass, it is extremely challenging, if not impossible, to get enough material into that cavity to be extruded to make it worth running the mill. You know, if you're producing 1,800 pounds of pellets an hour with a 400 horsepower pellet mill, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So what we did was buy a vertical pellet mill, and right where the mill splits in the middle is where the die plate's located. The material falls down through, there's a 3.5 ton roller head spinning inside of there that extrudes the material down through the die plate. At that point it is very much like a ring die mill where the heat and the pressure inside that die liquefy the lignin, and that's what forms the binder for your pellet. When the pellets come out, they're still extremely hot, and being hot, they're fragile. So what you have to do after that brown tub up there is actually a counterflow cooler. Just uses ambient air to cool the pellets down, make them much more durable. After that, the pellets go into the bulk bin, which is towering over us here. And from there, we have the ability to load them out, to screen them, load them out in bulk, or to load them out in 40-pound bags like somebody would look at in their residential unit.
Quick grind effort there, so it's down to 5, 6, 8 or?
No, we try to deliver right around 10 and 12%. Rail, it's a 4 foot of loose grass like that.